Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. So chapter number 6, learning the Arabic language. Before I get into the subject of how to study the Arabic language, I want to first deal with the issue of the ruling of learning Arabic. Is learning Arabic an obligation upon every Muslim?
Yes.
This is the question that we need to deal with first. The answer to this question came by way of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah in his book Iqtida' al-Sirat al-Mustaqim, which is it talks about the mukhalafat ahl al-jahim, to differ and be different from the people of the hellfire, in their ayat, in their language, in their dress, and everything. We don't act like the kuffar, we don't dress like the kuffar, we don't take on the customs and the practices and the holidays of the kuffar. So this is a beautiful book, and anybody that has the ability to sit down and read this book, you must read it, especially in this time, especially the fact that we live in the West. And the fact that we live in the West, yes, this is a must read. So the statement of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he said, إن نفس اللغة من الدين ومعرفتها فرض واجب فإن فهم الكتاب والسنة فرض ولا يفهم إلا بفهم اللغة العربية وما لا يتم الواجب إلا به فهو واجب. So let's look at the statement of Shaykh al-Islam. He said, إن نفس اللغة من الدين. He said the language itself, in its essence in itself, is from the deen. The language is from the deen. So it's a part of the deen. So by leaving off, what he's saying now is that what? By leaving off the Arabic language, you are leaving off what? You're leaving off a part of the deen. Now, you're not leaving off the deen because that would take you out of the deen, but you're leaving off a very big aspect of the deen, a very big part of the deen. And this is not from the traits from the people before. That's why you see all of these translations of the Quran and translation of books of hadith. All of this did not start until these late ages, just recently. All the people from before, from the Persians and the Russians and all these people that came into Islam, they came into Islam and they learned the Arabic language. They learned the Arabic language. In fact, the imams of the Arabic language were not even Arabs. Sibawayh wasn't from the Arabs. Well, he's not from the imams of the Lugha. He's an imam of hadith. But I'm talking about the actual imams of the Lugha. And you look at all the people like al-Jurjani and all these people that did so much khair and benefit in the Arabic language. They're not even Arabs. Because this was the state of the people in those days when they became Muslim. They went and they learned the Arabic language first and they memorized the Quran, and they went out to seek knowledge. Alright. So he said, إن نفس اللغة من الدين ومعرفتها فرض واجب. And to know the Arabic language, فرض واجب. So here he used the word farad, which means what? And it's mandatory or an obligation. And wajib, so he's like basically saying it's a mandatory obligation, which is to give like emphasis, to place more, a lot of emphasis on the aspect of it being obligatory. Nobody, huh? No, it's not mubalagha, it's ta'keed. You gotta go back and review Ajurumiyya, inshallah. Alright, but whenever, alright, and this is for everybody, right? So everybody has to learn the Arabic language to whatever his capabilities will allow him to learn. This is an obligation upon everybody. But I've actually seen people like they want to learn all these different types of languages. I've even seen one brothers that will sit down and learn Spanish, but when it comes to Arabic language, they don't have time for it. Brothers that I've actually seen a brother in Los Angeles that was trying to learn Hebrew just because he wanted to hear what the Jews were saying on their news and translate it to the Muslims, but he wouldn't sit down and learn Arabic. So this is a waste of time. First, again, when I talk about Muslims not having their priorities intact, not having the priorities right, there you go. Priority number one is you have to learn the Arabic language. This should be like, like in front of, like right there, the biggest goal that you have at the time being. Obviously, there's more goals behind the Arabic language, but you can't get to those goals until you get the Arabic language. As long as you're sitting there struggling with the Arabic language, you're going to be struggling with every other aspect of the deen. And even once you learn Arabic, the strength that you have in the Arabic language, the level that you can go up to in the Arabic language is going to, dictate your level that you're going to go up in all of the sciences of the religion. So if you're weak in the Arabic language, you're going to be weak in all the sciences. If you're very strong and then you study these other sciences, then you'll have a strong understanding in all the sciences. So everything requires this. So he said after that, he said, فَإِنَّ فَهَمَ الْكِتَابِ وَالسُنَّةِ فَرَضٌ. He said, because understanding the Quran, the book, and the Sunnah is an obligation. وَلَا يُفْهَمْ إِلَّا بِفَهْمِ اللُّغَةِ الْعَرَبِيَّةِ. And you can't understand them without what? Without understanding the Arabic language. وَمَا لَا يَتِمُّ الْوَاجِبْ إِلَّا بِهِ فَهُوَ وَاجِبٌ. So whatever an obligation is not completed except with this thing, then it becomes what? Wajib. Like salat is an obligation, but you can't pray unless you make wudu. So that means that wudu becomes what? Wajib, because the salat is not completed without it. You can't pray without tahara. So as like, sitting here and like in the deen, like practicing your deen without knowing the Arabic language is almost akin to like, sitting there praying without tahara, because you're missing the biggest aspect of this deen is the language. This is our language, and this is again, the Quran and the Sunnah unite us. The Arabic language and the understanding of the Arabic language unite us. Going back and having the Arabic language and getting the understanding of the Salaf Salih, that unites us. But when this person is speaking this language and that language and that language and this culture and that culture and that culture, we're all what? We're all different. We're not the same. So Allah Mustaan. So that is an obligation. All right. So now, قال المؤلف الله يحفظه والله يفرج عنه ويفرج عنه وأهله. All right, this is the clearest stance on this issue. And if you know, because of the book that I just published, which is the book on memorization of the Quran, I brought another statement that I hadn't found at that time, which is a statement in Risala by Imam Shafi'i. So anybody can go back and check that chapter on, because I mentioned this in that book. So now I'm going to mention that now. So you go back and check in that book and you can see the statement of Imam Shafi'i, which also is of the opinion that it's an obligation. It's an obligation for a person. This is the clearest stance on this issue. For a person to understand what he needs to do as a Muslim, he has to understand the Quran and the Sunnah. These two sources of Islam are in the Arabic language. How can he understand what is obligatory for him to do if he does not understand the Arabic language? Therefore, there is absolutely no doubt that learning the Arabic language is an obligation upon every Muslim. However, the question that arises is how much of the Arabic language should one know to fulfill that obligation? All right, this is an important question, right? The answer is simple. He should know enough Arabic to understand the commands and prohibitions in the Quran and the Sunnah. And that goes back also, that was, like I said, I didn't have the statement of Imam Shafi'i at this time. I didn't read that, but that's basically what he said. To understand the adhkar and understand what's being told, what's being said in the Quran, you have to know the Arabic language. He should understand enough Arabic to comprehend the shahada that he takes to become Muslim. It is not necessary that the person attain the level of reading poetry from Jahiliyyah, but it is necessary that he has a functional knowledge of the language to carry out his basic duties as a Muslim. Simple, right? So like for example, you can read through the Sunnah. You can have an understanding, and if you don't have the understanding, you can at least have enough Arabic language that you can go sit down with the ulama and understand what you need to do. All right, because sometimes, maybe with the hadith you don't understand it, but you at least have to have the ability to go back to the ulama from before, or even the ulama nowadays, and be able to ask them and understand what they're telling you without translation. We should all have this ability. This is what should be pushed. This is what should be focused on, but obviously that's not been the case. Everybody's trying to seek that celebrity status and everything, but nobody's focusing on what's really beneficial for the Muslims. All right, so how to get started learning the Arabic language. All right, I am going to break this section up into phases. The phases are going to look like the following. So 1, learning the letters and learning how to read. So that's the very beginning. Learning the letters and learning how to read. That's where Ibrahim's at right now, right?
No, actually
no. No, he's learning how to read now. He's got the letters, right?
Oh yeah, me and him.
Now he's getting fluent in the reading part, right? So then once you get fluent in the reading, then you go on to the what? The next thing. Learning vocabulary and basic speech. And this is what they call a ta'bir, which is what you're going to see in the third part, studying a ta'bir. All right, so you start off with like little basic speech, kayfa halak, ana bikhair, assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam, hal anta ju'an, like little basic little sentences, you start off with that. And then as you progress, then you start to go into like ta'bir, which is like more conversation, like, longer conversation, conversational Arabic. And the fourth one is transitional phase, in which the student will begin transitioning from a translated dictionary to using an Arabic to Arabic dictionary, because obviously all throughout the beginning, you'll be using an Arabic to English dictionary. But then as you start to get into this phase, the fourth phase, then you're going to start to like wean yourself off of the English language and then focus only on the Arabic dictionary. And this is going to, like I said, all of this we're going to go through in detail later on. All right. The next phase, fully transition to an Arabic to Arabic dictionary. Once you're fully transitioned to an Arabic dictionary, it's on. Like it's on. That's when the fun. That's when it's gone. That's when you start. You just take off like a rocket now. All right. And then the next one, begin studying Nahu. Now I put begin studying Nahu way down at the bottom. Why?
Because you can't understand Nahu if all of the above wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have the Arabic language, Nahu is absolutely of no benefit for you. None. I mean, you could teach a person like, okay, ضرب أحمد زيدا, but you don't need to explain to him, ضرب is فعل ماضي مبني على الفتح, and أحمد is a فاعل مرفوع, and زيدا is a مفعول به منصوب. You don't need to explain that to him, but you just need to explain to him like this is the action, he's the doer of the action, and this is and Zaydan is the one that the action is done to. Khalas. He doesn't need to understand the grammar. He just needs to understand the language and using it correctly and saying it correctly. Later on, once he's got the language down and he's got understanding, then you can go into the explaining the Nahu to him. All right, the next one is begin studying Sarf, and Sarf is morphology, which means that you're taking the word like kharaja, yakhruju, khurujan, huwa kharij, makhrujun minhu, and then you say kharraja, yukharriju, takhrijan, wa huwa mukharrij, wa huwa mukharraj. All right, and then you have takharraja, yatakharraju, takharrujan, wa huwa mutakharrij. And all these types of words, right? Istakhraja, yastakhriju, istikhrajan, wa huwa mustakhrij, wa huwa mustakhraj. And things like this. So how the word is changing from the maldi to the mudari to the masdar, then from the masdar to the ism fa'al, the ism maf'ul, and you have different masadir. It's not just one masdar. So this, inshallah, also we're going to later. All right, the next one is introduction to Arabic poetry. By this time, you'll be able to learn poetry and then begin studying balagha. Balagha and poetry is obviously going to be at the very end. There's absolutely zero benefit in studying any of these sciences at the end if you do not have the Arabic language. It's just going to confuse you, and you're going to spend so much time trying to understand the rules and the principles of these sciences that you're not going to be focusing on learning the Arabic. I've seen so many brothers that got busy studying Nahu in the early stages of their studying of the Arabic language. And what happened was they got so busy trying to understand the qawaid and the i'rab of everything that he could break down, mashallah. If you give him a jumla, he'll break it down and do the i'rab, but he can't even understand it. And he can't speak properly, he can't understand, he can't read the books properly. And he's still using an English to Arabic to English dictionary. Nah, you need to focus solely on ta'bir, which is the conversational Arabic, then get into reading books. And all of this, inshallah, will come step by step, inshallah. All right, how long it takes to complete each phase is up to the student. It depends on your desire and your passion. Some people, that flame is like kind of dull. And it's going to take them a long time. They might never get to the end. They might spend years in this to be on third phase. But if you had that strong passion and that love for something, you could go through all of this within a 5-year period. 5-year period, and I'm talking about starting from Sifr. I'm not talking about the Arabs. The Arabs, obviously you start from Nahu. And then Nahu, you can knock out all the major books of Nahu in 2 years. You can knock out Sarf in a year. And you can you go through Arabic poetry, you have to sit down and read through the Kutub al-Adab and all that for like a year. And then study Balagha while you're doing that. So, it still take you about like 3 years, all right, to knock out all this, even as an Arab. But to go through all of these phases, you'd have to have some super passion. And you can knock it out in 5 years. Otherwise, it's going to take a lot of people a lot longer, 7 years maybe.
How long would it take for someone to be a scholar of Nahu?
That depends on, like I said, it depends on the person.
Like 5 years.
If you could go through Nahu in 2 years, in the first year you could study Al-Ajrumiyya, you can study Mutammima, or you can study Qatar. And in the second year, if you really understand it, then you can study Alfiyah. If you studied Alfiyah, now you need to take about like another year or two just doing research if you really, really want to go deep into this. You memorize Alfiyah ibn Malik and you just like go through the books. You take 2 years and you're reading like Mughni Labib, you're reading all the different shuruh of Alfiyah, and you're doing that, then yeah, probably I would say about 4 years that you would be, I wouldn't say a sheikh, but I would say that you would be, you know, one of the top people, one of the top teachers, you know. And if you want to talk about sheikh, it's like 10 years, you know. 5 years, if you dedicated 5 years to one science, like, and you really put in work and you had that passion and desire, akhi, you could knock that out. I mean, you, like I said, you would be the person that everybody would go to at that point in now.
What about, would you recommend someone studying 5 years of just straight tafsir?
Reading, not studying. I mean, you just sit down and read tafsir for 5 years. But yeah, but after you can't do that with tafsir, because tafsir is made up of too many different sciences. You have to study usul al-fiqh, you have to study mustalah hadith, you have to study fiqh, you got to study a lot of different things before you do that. Then once you've studied that, once you've studied all those sciences, you got the basic understanding of all those sciences. And we'll go into this later, inshallah, but keep the questions on topic. All right, but I mean, you can read through tafsir as you're studying the Arabic language, because you're trying to understand the language of the Quran. So that's yeah, you should be doing that anyway. All right, so how long it takes to complete each phase is up to the student. You will get the results based on the efforts that you put in. The very first thing that every student needs to do is to find a qualified teacher. By qualified, I do not mean that the person has to have degrees and certificates, because how many people have a degree in Islamic studies but they know nothing about Islam? And wallahi, that's the truth. And degrees, nobody cares about degrees. Wallahi, you get a dude that studied out in the desert in Mauritania, knows more about the Arabic language than these dudes with all their little Azhari fake degrees and all this type of stuff. So nah, you know, no. You know, don't put the emphasis on the degrees, but put the emphasis on the person and his background and talib al-ilm. Because you got these guys with degrees, they've never sat with the ulama. They haven't sat with the ulama. Who have they sat with? Nobody. Coming and talking about, I got a degree from Azhar, but he never sat with the ulama. Who would he sit with? Nobody. So no. No, you don't put the emphasis on degrees. You put the emphasis on where the person studied and who he studied with. Nobody cares about a piece of paper.
How much degrees did Prophet Muhammad have?
None of the Salaf had degrees. They would take an ijazat from the ulama. That's it, from sitting with the ulama. So that's it. They had their permission to narrate hadith from their sheikh. That was their degree, you know. All right, so I mean that you should find a person who is capable of teaching you and teaching you correctly. During the first phase, it is preferable that you have an Arab teacher. Definitely. I don't care how much a person from the West studied, Arabic is not our language. So there are mistakes that we make, and we have to fight not to make those mistakes, right? Whereas an Arab would just naturally not make these mistakes. So you want the most preferable thing that you get when you're studying alaba, ta, and all this is that you have an Arab teacher. Somebody that you know is going to teach you the huruf correctly. Not Egyptian though. Because then you get like a jim, a gim, then you get a hamza is going to be, the qaf is going to be f, you know, it's like elam instead of qalam, you know,
A lot of Egyptians, when I hear them, when they say the qaf, they recite, when they say qaf, it sounds like a calf. Like this would be like qaf, be like khaf, like it sounds weird the way.
Yeah, they're good, like yeah. So, like mostly the best and the cleanest Arabic language is in Yemen and the Khalij. You know, that's where you'll find that the people have the clearest, the best pronunciation. Not saying that everybody in Yemen, because you know, you get the people in the Shimal, they don't say qaf, they say gef. Get gamet the salat. That's how they say qad qamat the salat. They say get gamet the salat. You hear this in Sunnah, but these are not teachers. These are just juhal. These are ignorant people that just call the adhan and the iqamah. But you have to make sure that you're a student of knowledge from those areas. You'll see like the Arabic is very clear. You listen to students from Yemen, you listen to students from Saudi, and you hear the Arabic. Like it's very clear. Listen to Sheikh Al-Uthaymin, and listen to him. Then go listen to a Sheikh from Egypt and try to understand what he's saying. You know, so even the ulama amongst the Egyptians, they still speak in that lahja. And the Amr A. And the eyes. Oh my God, that was a story of a Yemeni. He went to a mat'am in Egypt. So in Yemen, they say, like, for example, mashi. It means what?
Whatever.
You know, it's like somebody comes up to you and say, "Okay, for halu, mashi," like mashi al halu. Like it's going along. Everything's just going along, right? That's what it means in Yemen, mashi. Now, mashi in Egypt means what?
Walking.
No, it means la shay.
Oh.
No, we don't have it.
Oh.
So the Yemeni went into the mat'am and said, "Halendakum full," and the Egyptian said, "Mashi." So the Yemeni sitting there standing there waiting for the fool. And he was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Ya akhi, ana kunta like halendik full. I kunta like mashi. Tai mashi hat." You know, it's like, because the Yemenis understand the mashi in the Yemeni language, mashi, khalas, hat, yeah, we got it. And he's talking about the Egyptian language, which is mashi. No, my internet, we don't have it. Yeah, man. So, but that's all lahja. That's what you don't want to get involved in it. You want somebody that can teach you proper Arabic. And if you go sit amongst the ulama, you see in the Khalij and in Yemen, you see that all the ulama, they speak proper Arabic. You know, even the ulama in Mauritania, they do not speak Fusha when they teach. They have their own. It's called I think it's called Hassaniya or something like that. They have their own dialect of the Arabic language that they teach it. So that's why if you go and pull up a Mauritanian sheikh online and listen to him, you'll like catch some words, but you're like, what is he saying? He's like, it's Arabic, but it's not Arabic, you know. So it's weird. So make sure that you have a teacher that's going to teach you properly. During the first phase, it is preferable that you have an Arab teacher. It is more preferable if the Arab teacher is from the Gulf region or Yemen. Okay, so I'll put it in the book. Syrians and Egyptians. But actually, no, Syrians are a lot better than Egyptians. So Syrians, especially with the tajweed of the Quran and everything, no. Like I said, if you get a good teacher from Syria, you're not going to have this problem. But if you get some, let's say that you don't have somebody to teach you, but you just have like a Syrian guy who lived in Syria and grew up in Syria, and he's just going to teach you Arabic. You know, he's just whatever. He works at a makhbaz or something like that. You know, he's like a bread maker. Yeah, he's going to teach you some messed up Arabic. You know what I'm saying? Half Turkish, half Arabic, half, and the pronunciation also going to be messed up. But now, if you get a Syrian that's a student of knowledge, you won't have this problem. But Egyptians, even with the students of knowledge, they cannot let that lahja go. They speak with that Egyptian accent wherever, well, even the ulama amongst them. So Syrians and Egyptians have strong accents in their pronunciation of the Arabic language, and you do not want to learn their mistakes from the very beginning. The pronunciation of the Arabs from the Gulf region and Yemen are much clearer and precise. Listen to a sheikh from Saudi Arabia speak Arabic and listen to a sheikh from Egypt speak Arabic, and you will notice the difference instantaneously. Instantaneously you will know that. Alright, if you're not able to find an Arab teacher that has good pronunciation of the letters, you will have to utilize whatever resources you have available. If you do not have anybody in the community, you will have to go to the internet. Most of the teachers on YouTube are from Egypt, so you have to be picky. And that's just the fact. If you go on and get like Arabic, Arabiya Bayna Yadayk, or you try to get these books explained on the internet, it's mostly Egyptians teaching on the internet. So, all right, so we'll stop here, inshallah. So, inshallah, from the next class, we'll start with phase 1, inshallah, and then we'll go from there.